Part 5. The Key. The black car stayed behind us, not too close, not too far, just enough to make sure we noticed it. I looked into the side mirror again. It's still there. Ethan glanced back. Maybe it's just going to same way? No. I shook my head. It's been behind us for almost 15 minutes. Without saying another word, Ethan turned sharply into a crowded street. The sidewalks were packed with people leaving work. Coffee shops buzzed with conversations. Traffic slowed to a crawl. For a moment, I thought we'd lost it. Then the small black car appeared at the end of the street. My stomach tightened. They are definitely following us. Ethan's grip on the steering wheel stiffened. What do we do? Before I could answer, my phone vibrated. Another unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Ryan. It wasn't the man from before. It was a woman's voice. Soft, nervous, almost whispering. If you want the truth about Olivia, go to the old library. I frowned. Who are you? You don't have much time. Wait, who are. The call ended. I immediately tried calling back. The number no longer existed. Ethan looked at me. What now? I took a deep breath. We're going to the library. The old city library had been closed for almost 2 years. Its broken window and faded brick walls made it look forgotten. Olivia loved that place. She used to say old books remember things people tried to forget. As we walked through the rusty gates, the wind pushed fallen leaves across the cracked stone path. The building was silent, too silent. The main doors cracked open with barely a touch. Dust floated through the sunlight like tiny stars. Rows of empty bookshelves stretched into darkness. Hello, Ethan called. No answer. Only our footsteps echoed through the building. Then I saw it, a small wooden box sitting alone on the front desk. On top of it was a white envelope. My name was written across it, Ryan, in Olivia's handwriting. My hands began to shake. It can't be, I whispered. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a folded letter. The paper smelled faintly of lavender, Olivia's favorite perfume. I unfolded it. The first line stole every breath from my lungs. Ryan, if you're reading this, it means I was right. Someone is following you. I looked around. Every shadow suddenly felt alive. The letter continued. I wish I could explain everything, but I can't. Not yet. There are people who want my notebook because it contains something they should never have lost. I turned the page. A tiny silver key fell into my hand. Attached to it was another note. Locker 217, Central Station. Go alone. Trust no one, not even someone you think you know. My heart stopped. Not even someone you think you know. I slowly lifted my eyes towards Ethan. He was staring at the letter. His expression was impossible to read. Then, from somewhere deep inside the library, a floorboard cracked. Someone else was in the building. Someone who had been listening to every word. The footsteps grew louder. One, then another, getting closer and closer until a voice echoed through the empty library. You're too late. I spun around. A man stepped out from the shadows. Tall, black jacket, a thin scar above his right eyebrow. Daniel. He smiled. I was wondering when you'd find Olivia's first clue. Part 6. The truth about Daniel. Daniel didn't move. He simply stood there, one hand inside the pocket of his black jacket, watching us with an expression that wasn't normal. It was disappointed. I expected you to find the notebook sooner, he said calmly. Eden stepped in front of me. Don't come any closer. Daniel let out a quiet laugh. If I wanted to hurt either of you, I wouldn't have waited this long. I tightened my grip around the small silver key Olivia had left for me. What did you do to Olivia? For the first time, Daniel's smile disappeared. I have been asking myself the same question every day. My heart skipped a beat. What? You think I killed her? Didn't you? He slowly shook his head. No, I tried to save her. Silence filled the library. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're lying. I wish I were. Daniel reached into his pocket. Ethan immediately took a step forward. Don't. Daniel raised both hands. Relax. He slowly pulled out an old photograph. It showed Olivia standing beside Daniel. Both of them were smiling. On the back, Olivia had written, "To my most annoying partner, one day Ryan will finally meet you." I stared at the words. I have never seen this. You were not supposed to. Then I looked directly at me. Olivia wanted to tell you everything, but she kept saying, "Not yet." I remembered those words. Olivia had said them so many times whenever I asked about the notebook she carried everywhere. People trusted us with things they couldn't replace. I frowned. What does that have to do with her death? Daniel looked towards the broken window. 3 months before the accident, Olivia found something inside an old diary. What? He swallowed. A list. A list of names. Names of people who had disappeared over the last 15 years. A cold chill spread through my body. What are you talking about? It wasn't just a diary. It was evidence, and someone realized Olivia had seen it. The room felt silent, so the accident wasn't an accident. I finished. Daniel nodded slowly. No, it was made to look like one. Tears filled my eyes. Everything Olivia had tried to tell me, everything in the voice note, it was true. But why the notebook? Ethan asked. Daniel looked at a silver key still resting in my hand. Because Olivia copied every name into her notebook before the diary disappeared. I looked down at the key. So, locker 217 contains the notebook. Daniel nodded. Yes, my heart finally lifted for the first time in weeks. We can prove everything. Daniel didn't answer. Instead, he looked at me with sadness. What? His voice became almost a whisper. Ryan, I wasn't the only one following you. A loud crash shattered the silence. The library's front door burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed through the building. One, two, three. At least 6 people rushed inside, all dressed in black. One of them shouted, "Get the key!" Daniel's face changed instantly. He looked at me and yelled, "Run!" Part 7, Locker 217. Run! Daniel's voice echoed through the abandoned library. I didn't hesitate. Ethan grabbed my arm, and the three of us sprinted through the endless rows of bookshelves as heavy footsteps thundered behind us. They are gaining on us. Ethan shouted. I know. A loud crash exploded behind us. One of the men had kicked over a bookshelf, sending hundreds of old books crashing onto the wooden floor. Dust filled the air. For a few precious seconds, we disappeared into the chaos. This way, Daniel yelled. He pushed open a narrow wooden door hidden behind a shelf. We rushed inside. It was an old storage room. Boxes covered in dust were stacked from floor to ceiling. Daniel slammed the door shut and dragged a heavy cabinet in front of it. A second later, bang! Someone rammed the door from the outside. They found us, Edith whispered. Daniel looked at me. Do you still have the key? I opened my hand. The tiny silver key was still there. He let out a relieved breath. Good. What exactly is in locker 217? I asked. The notebook. Only the notebook? Daniel hesitated. No. Then what? He looked down for a moment before answering. Olivia left something for you. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? The day before she died, she asked me to promise her something. What promise? If anything ever happened to her, I had to make sure you reached locker 217. I stared at him. She knew. Daniel nodded slowly. I don't think she knew she was going to die, but she knew someone was watching her. Another loud bang. The cabinet shook violently. Splinters flew from the wooden door. We don't have much time, Daniel said. He pulled a folded map from his jacket. This storage room connects to an old service tunnel. Eden frowned. A tunnel? It was built decades ago when this library was expanded. Daniel pointed to a narrow passage hidden behind a stack of boxes. It leads straight to the subway station. The station? I whispered. Central Station. He nodded, and from there, locker 217. Hope returned to me for the first time since Olivia's funeral. Maybe Maybe this nightmare was finally leading us to the truth. We pushed the boxes aside, revealing a rusted metal door. Daniel forced it open. A cold gust of air rushed out. The tunnel beyond was dark and silent. Only a few flickering emergency lights remained. Hurry, Daniel said. One by one, we stepped inside. The tunnel smelled of damp concrete, water dripping from the ceiling. Our footsteps echoed through the darkness. After several minutes, a faint light appeared ahead. We're almost there, Daniel said. Just as we reached the exit, a defending sound assured us. Gunshots. The bullets struck the tunnel walls, sending pieces of concrete flying. I froze. These people weren't trying to scare us anymore. They wanted the key. At any cost. Daniel turned around without thinking. Keep running, he shouted. What about you? I yelled. He looked at me and smiled sadly. The only thing Olivia ever asked me was to protect you. Before I could stop him, Daniel slammed the heavy metal gate between us. The lock snapped shut. He was trapped on the other side. Daniel, I screamed, pounding on the gate. He stepped backward, facing the man racing towards him. Then he looked at me one last time. Ryan, find the notebook, and whatever happens, don't let Olivia's voice be forgotten. The man reached him. The tunnel echoed with shouting. Ethan grabbed my shoulder, tears in his eyes. We have to go. I couldn't move. Daniel looked at us one final time and pulled a lever on the wall. The tunnel shook violently. The ceiling behind him collapsed, burying the passage under tons of concrete. The man disappeared beneath the cloud of dust. So did Daniel. The silence that followed us was unbearable. I closed my hand around Olivia's silver key. Now there was only one place left to go. Central Station, Locker 217. Part 8, Locker 217. For the rest of the journey, neither Ethan nor I spoke. The sound of the tunnel collapsing kept replaying in my mind. Daniel's final word echoed o'er and o'er. Don't let Olivia's voice be forgotten. I wanted to believe he had survived. I had to, because if he hadn't, then another person had sacrificed everything to protect Olivia's secret. Central Station was crowded. People hurried past us with the coffee cups in their hands. Children laughed. Trains arrived and departed as if nothing in the world had changed. It felt strange, the busiest place in the city, yet I had never felt more alone. He then pulled the hood off his jacket or his hat. If those people are still looking for us, they'll expect us to come here. I knew it. They know about the locker, so we have to be careful. We split up, pretending to be strangers. Ethan walked toward the ticket machines. I headed for the rows of storied lockers near platform 4. My heart pounded with every step. 210, 211, 212. I kept walking. 215, 216. Then there it was. Locker 217. An old grey locker with chipped paint and a tiny silver lock. I looked around. No one seemed interested in me. I slowly pulled Olivia's key from my pocket. My hand trembled. This is it, I whispered. The key slid into the lock perfectly. I turned it. Click. The locker door opened. Inside, there wasn't a notebook. There was a small cardboard box. My stomach dropped. No. I searched the locker. Nothing else. Just the box. Someone had taken the notebook. For a moment, I thought we had failed. Then I noticed a note taped to the top. It was written in Olivia's handwriting. Rayan, if you're opening this, then they found the notebook before you did. A tear rolled down my cheek. She had thought of everything. I carefully lifted the lid. Inside were three things: a silver necklace with a tiny pressed flower inside its pendant, a flash drive, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. My hands shook as I opened the letter. Rayan, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't keep my promise to tell you everything in person. I'm sorry, more than anyone. I wanted our story to have a different ending. If the notebook is gone, don't panic. I knew that might happen. That's why I copied everything important onto the flash drive. But before you look at it, I need you to know one thing. None of this was your fault. My vision blurred. I kept reading. You once asked me why I always carried that notebook. I smiled and said, one day. I never imagined that one day would arrive without me. I pressed the paper against my chest, trying to hold back my tears. Then I read the final lines. Rayan, whatever happens after today, promise me you'll keep living. Fall in love with the sunrise again. Laugh without feeling guilty. Visit our cafe when it rains. And whenever life becomes too heavy, don't overthink it, okay? I couldn't stop crying. Even now, she was still trying to comfort me. I couldn't stop crying. Even now, she was still trying to comfort me. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the station. People screamed. Passengers began running in every direction. Ethan shouted my name from across the platform. Rayan. I looked up. Three men in black jackets were walking through the crowd. One of them pointed directly at me. He has the box. Without thinking, I grabbed the flash drive, stuffed the letter into my jacket, and slammed the locker shut. The chase wasn't over yet. To be continued.